Okay, sit yourself on your lift and then come into a comfortable cross-leg position. Just make sure that you feel evenly positioned underneath your seat bones. So there's levelness, and then hold onto your knees, lift and open your chest. Drive the front chest upwards and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Softening your jaw, softening the tongue, softening the throat. Feel that you can elevate the spine upwards and consciously draw the shoulders down, almost against that lift of the chest, but they complement each other. So lift the chest, draw your shoulders down so that you feel length at the sides of the neck. Bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms firmly together. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths. And long, slow, deep, deliberate out-breaths. Working with emphasis on the exhalation. And then with an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in your heart area. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And then lift the chest, drop the shoulders, raise the head, and open your eyes. Just hold on to your knees. Again, elevate it's almost like you lift up into an arrow, and the two shoulders are the kind of downward head of the arrow. So lift upwards, drawing the shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, maintaining that arrowhead as you turn. The elevation of the front chest, drawing down of the shoulders, but Even though we're making space in the neck, keep your head looking forward. Just keep the neck soft rather than turn. Breathe evenly and deeply, using the out breath to turn a little more deeply. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees, arrowhead the chest, and then turn to the left. Just working with the breath, working with emphasis on the out breath. Drawing the shoulders down away from the ears, lifting the chest as you turn. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift and then sit back on your heels and come into Adho Mukha Virasana. So just establish yourself on your shins to start off with. Just wriggle into your heels, activating the shin bones, pressing the shin bones into the shin skin. Lift and elevate the spine upwards, drawing the shoulders down. Really being conscious of that arrowhead, the lift of the spine, and then the shoulders are the head of the arrow. Keeping the abdomen long as you come forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana, hinging at the hips. Have your knees wide enough apart so that the abdomen comes through. And then bring your head down. So just assess the connection between the seat bones and the heels. Breathe evenly, working with emphasis on the out breath. Come up onto your knees, have your hands as wide apart as the mat. Turn your toes under, have your feet as wide apart as the mat. And then come up into dog down. Working with emphasis on the out breath. Drawing the kneecaps through to the back of the knee. Hitting the fronts of the legs through to the backs of the legs. Lengthening the front chest. Lengthening the spine into the shoulders. And then that arrowhead action. Trying to draw the shoulders away from your ears. It's a bit more complex when you've got your arms over your head. But draw the trapezius muscle down your back. So the trapezius muscle is the muscle that is the diamond-shaped muscle that covers the shoulder blades. Draw that muscle down the back. Listen to the sound of the breath. Working with emphasis on your out breath. Step your feet forward. Come up into a standing position. Bring some blocks for your hands. Bring your feet as wide apart as the mat with the toes turning outwards. Sorry, toes turning inwards. Your heels turning outwards. And then activate your legs. Spread your toes, hit the heels away from your toes, hit your shins back. Activate the thighs, turn the thighs inwards, lift and open the chest, drive the chest upwards. Draw in that trapezius muscle down the back so that you maintain that length in the spine. Come forwards, hinging at the hips, and then find the blocks underneath your shoulders. Breathing evenly, extending the chest forwards. So incrementally coming down lower, activating the legs, activating the spine. If you've got bad back, then stay on the lift. Otherwise, just incrementally come down, find the floor, maintaining that length of the spine and the action of drawing your shoulders away from your ears. Not quite so easy. So focus on that trapezius muscle, drawing the trapezius muscle down the back. And then if you can, draw yourself in, get hold of your heels, lengthening the abdomen, lengthening the front chest. Let your head come down, but keep your shoulders away from your ears. And then just bring your hands underneath your shoulders, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. And bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then come into Tadasana. So inner edge of your feet together, heels together, big toes together, and then turn your legs inwards, the fronts of the legs inwards so that the backs of the legs turn outwards. Tuck the tailbone in. Arrowhead the upper body. So now your arms are an extension of the shoulders. So it's like the entire body becomes an arrowhead, lengthening the neck upwards. So let there be a really distinct action of lengthening from the shoulders into the arms. The shoulders into the fingertips on the outside of the arm, and then on the inside of the arm, from the fingertips to the palms to the wrists, up into the armpits. Bring your arms out nice and wide into the chest, and then step or jump your feet apart. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out, and then come down into trikonasana. Just look down. Is your head over your foot? If it's not, then lift the chest more, draw the front leg buttock bone in, and then draw the chin. Don't look forwards at first. Feel that you lengthen the spine and you draw the shoulders away from your ears, and then look up, working with emphasis on the out breath. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, swap your feet around. So we're turning the inner legs for the front of the thighs outwards. Lift up into the chest, drawing the shoulders down away from your ears, and then come down, find the shin. Again, just look down. Is your head over your foot? Is the front leg buttock bone squeezing in? Is the back leg hitting towards the wall behind you? Just look forwards at first, lengthen the spine, drawing the shoulders down, and then turn the chest up to face the ceiling. Look up. Working with emphasis on the out breath. Maintaining softness in the throat. And then reach up, come back to the center, bring your feet parallel. And then step or jump the feet back together. And then come back up into Tadasana. Working the arrowhead. Just breathing evenly. Bring your feet hip width apart and turn your toes in for padangusthasana. So hitting your legs back, raise your arms up. But again, it's this trapezius muscle where your kind of hoodie kind of sits. That trapezius muscle draws down your back, and that helps you to make space in the neck. So lift up into the fingertips, turn the palms to face the front, come forwards, hinging at the hips, and then get hold of the big toe with the index finger and the middle finger, wrapping the thumb around the outside of the big toe. If you can't reach, then just use a belt around your toes, around your big toes, and then just come up to the level where you can reach. So holding on to the big toes, you're going to have a little tug of war with your own kind of body. So stamp the big toes down, but then try and rip them up out of the floor, like you're trying to rip a nail out of the floor. Lift the kneecaps, lift the thigh muscles, turn the fronts of the thigh muscles in, and then lengthen the spine. Find that length in the abdomen, drawing the arrowhead with the upper body. And then if you can straighten your back at this stage, bend your elbows out to the side, maintaining that length and that arrowhead shape. Bend your elbows out to the side, draw the body in towards your legs. But you're distinctly hinging at the hips. There's very little bend in the back. It's a hip action rather than a bending of the back. Breathing evenly. And then release the head forwards, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, and then bring your hands into your hips, and then come up into a standing position. And then come back into Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together, lift the arrowhead of the body up in from the feet into the chest, down into the arms. Just breathing evenly. And then just relax for a moment. So the next stage is padahastasana. Now, not everyone can do padahastasana. So if you know that you're not going to be anywhere near padahastasana, then have a block for your feet, and then you bring your feet onto the top of the block. Those the little bricks are probably a little bit high, but they'll still work. and then you come forwards, and again you just use the belt in the way that we've just done, and then just come forwards with a back straight. So this just gives you that extra kind of lift at the backs of the calves. One block is maybe a little bit restrictive actually, because it makes you bring your feet together too closely. So if you're using the blocks, and if you've got two blocks, have it like this, and then have the feet a bit wider than hip width apart, and then you should be able to come forwards a little more. Otherwise, you do feel a little bit restricted. Otherwise, padahastasana is where we come through the first stage of the pose. We keep reaching forwards, maintaining this length of the front chest, and then we post the hand underneath the feet, so the soles of the feet against the palms of the hand, and then again we elevate the chest forwards. So let's do that together. Don't do this if you've got a bad back. If you've got a bad back, it's going to be too much for you, so you can come forward onto a lift, like a kind of tabletop. Don't go all the way down. You can put the blocks underneath your feet if you want to, coming forward onto the tabletop, but don't overdo it. Just have the feet hip width apart, slightly more if you know that you can just about get there but not quite. Lift the chest and then raise your arms. Turn the palms to face the front and then hinge at the hips. Even when you can reach the floor easily, keep reaching into the middle of the room. And then place your palms, the backs of the hands are on the floor, the palms are facing the soles of the feet. And then tighten the kneecaps, turn the thighs in, hit the heels apart a little bit more. Lift the seat bones, lengthen the spine into the arrowhead, and breathe. Feel that you can really hinge at the hips, like you're trying to make a sandwich out of the body. And then bend your elbows out to the side, and then trying to maintain that length of the spine as you come forwards, breathing easily. Okay, and then just extend the spine away, just release your hands, bring your hands down onto the floor, and then do half uttanasana, just extending the spine away. Bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position, and then come into tadasana, feeling the body lifting out of the feet up into the chest, down into the arms. Just breathing evenly and deeply listening to the breath. And release, come down onto your front, just aligning your body with the floor, aligning your hands with the fingertips of your hands underneath your shoulders. So the fingertips just underneath the tips of the shoulders, and then turn your toes under, have your feet hip width apart, and then from there come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. If you're slightly out of line, then adjust that, but try not to walk your hands closer to your feet and vice versa. So activating those legs in the way that we were doing in padangusthasana, padahastasana, really working those legs, lengthening the spine in the way that we were doing at the beginning of padangusthasana. Just breathing evenly and deeply, stretching out the spine, feeling that the front chest has real elevation up into the shoulders, but then draw that trapezius muscle down your back. And then just come down onto your knees, sit back on your heels, and then come forwards into Adho Mukha virasana. Maybe there's more flexibility in your hips. And then just sit yourself up and come down onto your back into supta padangusthasana. So with your hands on your lower ribs, with your feet as close to the seat bones as you can get them, let the knees fall apart. Just using the floor to align the spine. Just observe the feeling of the breath. If you're holding onto your lower ribs, you can feel your chest and your abdomen react to the breath. Observe how it feels on the outside of the chest. Feeling the expansion of the rib cage with the in-breath and the contraction of the rib cage with the out-breath. Feeling the natural inflation of the abdomen with the in-breath and the natural deflation of the abdomen with the out-breath. Extend your arms up to the ceiling, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then just extend your arms along the floor. There's stiffness in your hips, then you can put a lift underneath your hands. If there's stiffness, so that didn't make sense. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, put a lift underneath your hands. If there's a stiffness in your hips, put blocks underneath your thighs just to support them. Release your arms, interlock your fingers the kind of incorrect way so that the opposite index finger is on the top. Turn the palms out and then extend your arms along the floor. And then release your arms and then just rest your hands on your lower ribs for a moment. And then draw your knees together. Have your knees, bring your knees together, your feet apart for a moment, just to rest out your hips for a moment. And then just rock yourself up into a seated position, and then I'll just show you what we're going to do. So we're going to do supta padangusthasana. So it's all the padangusthasanas, isn't it? So supta padangusthasana, you probably need a belt for this, and I'll show you. So you're going to come down along the floor. Make sure you got space either side of you, because you're going to stretch out your legs. So then you're going to have a belt around the right foot, just around the ball joint of the right foot, one belt in each hand at the beginning, the supta padangusthasana 1, and then extend the spine, the legs from the hips into the heels. So this leg has to be straight, it's not bending, so the leg needs to be straight. Then you take hold of both ends of the belt with the right hand, bring your elbow out to the right side, keeping this hip down. So you're trying to bring this toe in line with your ear, and you bring it out to the side. So we're not bringing that leg all the way down. If the leg comes all the way down, then you're either cheating or you've broken your pelvis. So presumably it's cheating. So you've got to try and really stabilize the pose with the opposite leg. So I'll talk you through it as we go. So just come down onto the floor. Make sure you're in a really good straight line, right down the center of the floor. And then bend the right leg, hook the belt around the ball joint of the foot, and then hold one end of the belt in each hand. So the first priority is to get this leg, this lifted leg, straight. So if you pull the leg too far over the head, then it's really hard to straighten the leg. And we're not trying to bring the foot over the head anyway. We're bringing the leg to 12 o'clock. But if you can't straighten your leg at 12 o'clock, give yourself a bit more space. So give yourself a little bit more rope, and then just bring your leg down a little so that you can straighten it. So a straight leg to start off with, and then really activate that left leg. So we're tadasanaizing that leg, turning the thigh, the front of the thigh inwards so that the back of the thigh broadens outwards. So turn both legs in Tadasana action. So the thighs, the fronts of the thighs turn from the little toe side to the big toe side. Lengthen from the inner groin into the inner heel of the left leg, the leg that's along the floor. Press the left leg firmly into the floor. Just breathe evenly and deeply, just working to get the legs straight at this stage, not being in a rush to move on, just working the legs deeply. And then just take hold of the belt as close to the foot as you can without bending the knee. So this leg has to stay straight. And then bend your elbow out in line with your shoulder as you bring that leg out to the side. Keep the left hand on your left hip as you bring that leg over to the side. So it should feel like a really big stretch in the inner groin region, in the hamstrings especially. Keep that left leg really firm, extending from the hip into the heel, tadasanaizing that front leg, drawing the abdomen from the right to the left a little. And then bring the leg back to the center, just to supta padangusthasana 1, and then release the foot, and then just lengthen your legs out, just let the feet fall apart. Just let the legs relax for a moment, and you'll probably notice a distinct feeling of difference between the two legs. The leg that you just stretched out probably feels like it's maybe sinking into the floor. Maybe it feels a bit longer. So just observe that difference. So what we've done is we've just energized the right leg. So we need to even that out. So come back into Tadasana along the floor. Really activate your legs, bring the inner edge of the feet together. Activate both legs, turning those thighs, the fronts of the thighs inwards. And then bend the left foot, hook the belt around the left foot, and then just bring the leg to 12 o'clock, working to really straighten that leg. So don't rush yourself out of this stage of the pose, because there's lots of things within this stage of the pose that are really worth observing. So the first is to observe that leg that you've left behind. Tadasanaise that leg. Turn the front of the thigh inwards, lengthen from the inner groin into the inner heel. And then think about the position of the hips. When you lift the leg, can you straighten the leg? Can you get that leg straight and tighten the kneecap roof? Tighten that kneecap. Turn the thigh inwards. When you straighten that leg, and when you lift the leg, do you lift the hip? So can you lengthen from the left armpit into the left hip? Sorry, the left armpit. The lifted leg armpit into the lifted leg hip. Drawing that down. Keep tadasanaising the leg. Take hold of both ends of the belt. Bring the foot out in line. Bring the elbow out in line with your shoulder. Bring the toes in line with your ear if you can. Maintain that firmness of the right leg. Tadasanaising it, lengthening from the inner groin into the inner heel. Broadening the abdomen from the left to the right a little. Lengthening from the left armpit into the left hip. Keeping both legs dead straight. Okay, and then just gently bring that leg up to the ceiling, and then unhook the foot, and then just rest down in shavasana for a moment. Just observe perhaps how the legs feel a little more even. Just breathe evenly in through the nose and out through the nose. And then bend your knees, get hold of your shins, and then bring the feet back into supta baddha. So your supta baddha will probably feel different in the hips. Give them support if you need to with blocks. Just breathe evenly. And then when you've recovered, bring your knees in towards your chest. Pull your knees into the chest. Have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then just roll onto your right side. And then sit yourself up into a cross-legged position. Just come into cross legs. Just holding onto your knees, lift and open the chest. So just breathing evenly in through the nose and out through the nose. Feel that there's still that arrowhead of the chest down into the shoulders. Just breathing deeply, softening the jaw, softening the tongue. And then turn to the right side, drawing the abdomen across. and then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift the chest, and then turn to the left. And then come back to the center. Just think about the way that you're crossing your legs, and then cross your legs the opposite way. So if you're doing half padangusthasana, have the other leg on the top. If you're doing normal cross legs, just cross the legs the other way around. Just hold on to your knees. Just notice maybe you instantly feel like you're not quite level. So just adjust the buttock flesh so that you can level out from the base. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right. So it's these little observations that we can make that help us to just understand our base a little more precisely. Come back to the center, hold onto your knees, and then come around to the left side. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift the chest, feel that arrowhead. Draw the chin down to meet the chest. Jalandhara bandha, and then raise mula bandha, lifting the anal sphincter up towards the abdomen. Just breathing in through the nose, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, allowing the breath to overflow into the arms, into the legs, and into the torso. And then release mula bandha, release Jalandhara bandha, and then raise your head. Just stretch your legs out and then just guide yourself down onto the floor. If you've got a bolster, then you're going to use a bolster underneath your hips. If you don't have a bolster, just get a couple of blocks and just pile them up, and then you're going to place them just underneath your hips. So you're going to come into viparita karanhi. So pull your feet towards you, lift yourself up, lift the seat bones up, and then place the bolster in to the small of the back, just into, well, not the small of the back, the sacrum area. Hold on to the bolster and then come right up onto the shoulder blades, onto the tops of the shoulders, sorry. And then bend your knees in and then lift your legs. So you can just adjust a little, just so that you feel that you're securely placed on the bolster. And just elevate your legs upwards, tadasanaizing your legs, keeping the chest lifted and open. So elevating the legs up to the ceiling. Just softening your jaw, softening your tongue. So this is a gentle inversion which helps to boost the immune system. There's lots of colds going around, a fair bit of COVID, so boosting our immune system is always helpful. And then just gently bend your knees, bring your feet back down onto the floor, and then lift the seat bones, just move the lift from out underneath you, just pull your knees into your chest, just have a little rock, and then come up into a seated position. So get your blanket for your head, and we've worked quite hard in legs today, so you can always put a bolster just underneath your knees, have the blanket underneath your head, and then just rest down into the floor. Just allow yourself to spread onto the floor. Let the muscles of the arms relax. Muscles of the legs. Just allowing the body to just completely release into the floor. As you allow the physical body to become heavy, perhaps you begin to notice that your energy rises to the uppermost skin. Distribute that feeling of lightness evenly throughout the body, down to the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. Just basking in that feeling of energy and lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just gently wriggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Just bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana, and then bend your knees. Just rest your feet on the bolster if you've got one. Just have the knees together. Just feel the lower back just pressing into the floor. And then draw your knees in toward your chest. Just give yourself a grounding massage on the back, just rocking from side to side, top to bottom. And then just gently roll onto your right side. Straighten out the top leg, come back up into the seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Draw the breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've just lifted your energy, give yourself a good stretch, a good upper body stretch, and there's lots of good energy to put into the rest of your day. So thank you very much.